Welcome everyone to this video I've been wanting to make for a while. So, before I get started, Kitty's not here at the minute. We're on a video call, but she's not here at the minute. But when she's back, you may hear her, maybe not. I don't know. She's by the camera, but the mic's down here, so possibly not. But we'll see. Um, so today, today's video is going to be a video I've been planning for a while. As I had described in my first video, I was reviewing a whole read through of all of Roald Dahl's major books, and just before I filmed the previous video, I'd finished it. And something I intend to do when I finish a book or a series or just anything, if I plan to review it, I'll obviously review it first. But after I've reviewed it, I will put it into one of these, a finished book box. This is the first of hopefully a good many, but we will see in the future. So I wanted to kind of go through the whole series, explaining my opinions on each of the books, what I thought of them, how easy or hard I found them to read. Just things like that, things that would be pretty interesting to know about. And then after I've done with them, I'll officially stash them away in this box to either read later, or if I ever have kids who like to read, maybe give them to my kids. But the one thing that's not happening is they aren't being sold. That's the one thing that's not happening. Never selling them. They're staying in here to be kept. So I'm just going to get right to it. The Roald Dahl was like right on the top right, so it's easy to grab. We're going to go straight to it then. Oh, and to remind you, I don't have it on me, but I've just started recording a video about reading the whole Star Wars Adventures in Wild Space series. I don't have the book in my hands, so the book will appear right there. Book 0, The Escape. And I'm starting that series. It's going to be a video of me reading it, and I hope you'll enjoy it. Okay, so remember to stay hydrated. I do not. Don't be me. So, okay, we're just going to begin. The first book that I read of Roald Dahl is George's Marvelous Medicine. Now, with this book, I don't actually remember a lot about it, because I read this I read this years ago. This is like 2019. I read this yonks and yonks ago. This is old for me. One thing I remember about it is I was reading it, and it got to the bit where he's making his marvelous medicine, and it's things that you shouldn't be mixing into medicine. Like, it did something funny in the book. I didn't laugh at the time because I wasn't really into books, so I was used to laughing at only films or a game. But it probably would have made me laugh if I reread it. But like, it does stuff to people or animals or stuff, and I was like, you should not be putting that kind of stuff in medicine. But then again, in 2019, I was a smart ass, and my brain was like, oh, I'm right about everything. So that's probably tainted my opinion, but I did really enjoy the book. I really did. I think that if I was to read it now, I'd probably give it a 9, or I'd probably give it a 5 on Goodreads, like I've given all of Roald Dahl's books, because I like them. So none of these reviews are going to be negative, because I don't have any negative opinions about any of his books. But you will know my favorites, mainly because I'll talk about them for way longer, and 2, because I'll remember them more, and because I'll probably say one of my favorites. This one was okay. I would probably reread it if I ever one day just want to read the Roald Dahl again. But for now, he's going to be the first book in the Roald Dahl box. That felt good to do. Okay, so there he is. The second book, it's even smaller. It's SEO Trot. This book, I loved this book. I thought it was quite cute. And I remember when I was really small, I watched like either a lot. I don't remember if it was live action or animated, but I actually remember. I think it was live action. I remember watching a film of it. I think it was like a 20-30 minute thing, and I loved it. as a kid. So when I was reading through it, I was remembering it, and I was so happy reading it. And it's a really cute story. You know, looking back, it's not one after reading the rest of them. It doesn't really feel like a Roald Dahl story, but it is, and I really like it. There's not really a lot to it. It's just about this old man who really loves this older woman, and she wants her turtles to get bigger. So he keeps getting other turtles, bigger turtles, to make her think that her turtles are growing rapidly, and he's helping her. But basically, eventually she comes over and sees his house is full of tortoises. He explains himself, and don't remember exactly how it ends, but it was cute. I liked it. Not a favourite, but I liked it, and that's what matters. As long as you like something, it's fine. You can talk, Kit.
What are you doing?
Recording a video. So next up is the Twits, which I thought was decently funny back when I was a smart ass in 2020 and bored out of my mind. So I thought it was pretty funny. I haven't obviously read it since then, so I don't remember. But one thing I did notice is I'm a fan of the Matilda film, and I didn't know that line was in the book. So when I saw the name of the book and saw it was the Twits, I was like, is this a Matilda reference? It's like, no, it's not. It's just some name he gave these people, and he clearly liked the word twit. Ask Roald Dahl. You can't, but I don't know. But I did enjoy it. It is a bit of a weird book, but all of Roald Dahl books are weird. Let's be honest here. And also, it was the first book that literally just ends with the people dying. They literally just die. They get like shrunk or something. Like, huh? Basically, at the end, they get shrunk, and they're shrunk so much they just don't exist anymore. It's like, bruh, Roald Dahl just killed people. I weirdly didn't think Roald Dahl would do that, but now I know he's fine with a little bit of death. But
We love that.
we do love death. But same thing with the last one. Obviously, these are all rated 5 stars on Goodreads. But, you know, okay. Gonna move Kitty closer in case anyone wants to hear her. But she's still going to be off screen with my box. So, next up is The Giraffe, the Pelly, and Me. Which is about a boy who goes into who finds an abandoned place, and inside lives a giraffe, a pelican, a monkey who apparently did not deserve to be in the title, and the lad. Yeah?
Am I allowed to say hi to your video?
Yeah?
Hi!
They can't see you because the screen's too bright, but you're pointed towards it.
Hi! I'm a cat Valentine. I'm not.
Okay, you can go back there, just off screen.
You're not going to explain who I am?
They know who you are. I've explained who you are in 2 of my videos previously. You've been in 2 of the 3. This is the 3rd. But yeah, the monkey didn't deserve to be in the title. I'm mildly offended. I'm not. But
It's monkey. Code 1 over code 2.
But basically, it's about these. I don't remember it fully, but there's a sweet shop, and they wanna have a sweet shop. Can't. Stuff happens, and this is the first book that introduced me to Roald Dahl's obsession with the Queen. She's in like 5 of his books. She's in this one. James and Giant Peach. No, James and Giant Peach is the president. BFG.
Four,
Huh?
four,
I can't remember all the ones she's in, but she's in like a good 3 or 4. But yeah, stuff happens. They meet the Queen for the first time for me. By then it was like 12 times. I'm kidding. But like, I thought it was alright. I can't really remember it. But like, I don't remember hating it, so that means it can't have been that bad. I gave it 4 stars. Not the Queen of Duke, even. Okay. Next book, which obviously I have the brain of a child, so I find this funny. The Magic Finger. Kitty also finds it funny. But
I'm a cat Valentine.
But for some reason, he decided to make a tiny miniature little book about a girl who's she fingers people, but not in that way. She just there's this one, and she just goes, and stuff happens. Again, I don't remember it because I read this a good year ago. Gave people wings, apparently. I just opened it to a random page. I don't remember it very much, but my memory is terrible. So, don't expect... Huh?
Your memory is better than mine.
It is better than yours, but like I read some of these like 2 years ago, so I barely remember them. But we're gonna get to the books I can remember now, because the next one after this one, let me put it in the box. The next book after this one is Fantastic Fister Fox, the Fantastic Mr. Fox, which you might be shocked. I haven't watched the Quentin Tarantino film. But
what? It's Quentin Tarantino.
I think it is. I'm like, no, it's not. Not Quentin Tarantino. Wes Anderson.
I've seen that.
I have not seen that. I don't know where Quentin Tarantino came from. It just popped in my brain. I not long ago watched his cowboy film. Django Unchained. Don't know why I said his cowboy film. But I've not long watched Django Unchained, so it's kind of in my head somewhere. But yeah, Fantastic Mr. Fox. I have not seen the film, but I did really like the book. The book, he probably should have named it to The Fox Who Digs. That's what the old book is. But shockingly, despite the fact that it's just a book about foxes and random other animals just digging from a bunch of lads who want to put bullets in them, I managed to enjoy it because I like the Mr. Fox. I like it, and I'm like I like that, like, even though it's short, you're still there like, oh no, what about his family and his kids? Because obviously they're starving. But you there, even though it's a short little book, you still feel for them, and I think that's something good about Roald Dahl. That it might just be helped that other writers can do it better, but I don't know because I've only read him and like 2 other people, so I don't know. But I did really like it. I'm trying not to take up too much of your time, but I'm also trying to talk about them. Right. Here's one that was turned into a Tim Burton film.
Yeah.
James and Giant Peach.
He did that.
Yeah, that was Tim Burton.
Since
Since he decided to. James and Giant Peach. I really liked this one. I really liked it. I mean, like, I felt, again, I didn't think back before I read, I didn't see how someone could get interested in a story that is just pen and paper. I didn't get it. This is one of those books that shows me. This is one of those books this is one of the books that told me that it is possible. I managed within 2 pages to feel bad for this lad because his parents are kind of dead, and wants to murder two people who weren't people. They're drawings.
Get out, Gabe.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to murder his aunties, despite the fact they are described by words and drew. I physically have never heard them speak or saw them or seen them move. But I flipping hated them. Kit,
Yeah.
I'm trying to describe the book.
But you have long words.
I'm trying to say it and not have it take me 15 minutes. But yeah, and then basically there's a peach in the garden and it's small. But then it grows the big. And the aunties are like, we can make the monies. So they put a cage around it and they go, right, give us money and you can look at the giant peach. Despite the fact they could probably see it from their bloody windows. It was flumptuous of a peach. Big. Then one day, James is like, I want a peach. I'm starving. They've locked me out of the house. So he goes to get his peach. He strolls up. He grabs a random peach. The big peach falls. He's like, oh no. He gets to the peach. He gets in. Roly. Peach rolls away. He gets in the peach. And he finds I don't know why I did this. I know what creatures. I can't remember all the creatures, but he finds them. He finds a lot of them. And in the course of the book, stuff happens with the peach. They start eating the peach, and they befriend each other. And then at the end, they land on top of the Empire State Building, and they meet the president. I'm the best at descriptions. I'm not, but yeah. That's the best way to describe this book. Again, I really liked it because I like books now. I didn't like back when I read the first couple. I hated them. Now I like them, and I'm getting better at reading them. Even if when I'm at home, I'd rather just turn on my Xbox and have a couple matches of like Call of Duty. But that's just because I'm easily entertained by pew-pews. Well, if I'm in a reading mood, I'll read till the day ends. Next up, yes, the BFG. This was the book where this is one of the books where I started to actually get into reading, like where I was thinking, I'm gonna go full pelt into it. And I also read it around the time I got with Kit, so that helped. With the BFG, because it was my first book that was like, because this compared to James and Giant Peach is huge compared to James and Giant Peach because it's so much bigger. It's at least 100. It's at least 100 pages bigger. It might not be. It just felt like it. It felt so much longer. So there were times where I was like, "Oh my god, I'm dying. I'm dying here." But that was nothing wrong with the book. That's because hold on. That's because I wasn't used to a book of this length. I was not prepared for it to take that as long as it did to read. But it did. But the bit when I was reading it, not trying to be like a miserable plum because of how long it was taking, I enjoyed the book a lot. And as I said, this is another book that shows his obsession with monarchs because the queens exist in it. But this one is really good. I think the giant's quite funny, to be honest. As much as sometimes is weird, how much he explains stuff to Sophie. As much as obviously you have to explain things, he'll say the scrubble wallumps or whatever he says, and she's like, the what? Huh? I was making up a random word, Kit. I wasn't actually saying something from the book. Snozcumber. Kit really wants me to say Snozcumber. Yeah. So again, I really like this one. If you do that one more time, I'm muting the call. Basically,
do it one more time, please.
Fine, but basically,
I'm gonna do it randomly.
Okay, but with this, I did really, really enjoy it. Again, I don't have much to say because it was a good while ago, but I did really enjoy it, and I should probably get something to write down what I think of these books, so I'm not rambling like this.
But you can have.
Okay, I'll get a pad. But I really liked it. Honestly, I think if you're a first time reader, Roald Dahl is someone you should read because he's obviously he's the number one storyteller according to all of his covers. Apparently, I'm sure some people would say David Walliams. Katie would not.
He doesn't.
On his books, on one of his books I saw the other day, one of his newly released ones, it said finally someone to rival Roald Dahl, and Kitty got majorly offended. But I haven't read any of his books, so I don't know. Huh?
So now I don't think that he didn't write Awful Auntie, so now I don't think he wrote any of his books.
I don't know. So I'll figure out one day, but I don't know. But I really like this book. I really like this one. We're going to get to the point where I can eventually start actually remembering them so I can explain it more. But for now, you're going to have to go off my brainless rambles because I don't remember at all. Not because they're bad, it's because I have nothing up here. Next up.
It's brilliant. If you remember Toy Story, which is the one with the pink bear?
Lotso.
Which one is he in?
3.
Yeah, if you've seen Toy Story 3 and if you've seen the monkey with the symbols, that is Josh's brain.
Yeah. Again, you're reminded to stay hydrated because I don't do it. Next is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And before I begin with this one, I have a very funny thing with this book. One time, I was at college, brought Skittles. I love Skittles. But I didn't finish them, so I rolled it up, put it in my bag. My mate pushed me over. The Skittles, when I opened the bag, were not in their plastic container. Well, we're not in the bag anymore. They went from the Skittles bag to my actual bag. I was still finding them for weeks, including on this book. They were stuck to it. So now the front was really, in certain places, was really sticky and rougher than the rest of it, and I don't like it.
And how did they get out your bag?
And Kitty got them out my bag. This book is around. Yeah.
Got them off of your book.
Basically, this is one of the first books I actually remember because it was this year I read it. No, it wasn't. It was the end of last year. But this book, and obviously I've seen the Johnny Depp film, not the original. I want to watch the original at some point.
It's so good.
It's very good, apparently. So with this book, you obviously know it's Charlie Bucket. Little lad's like starving every day, and instead of using his pound coins to help his mother and father, he buys himself a chocolate secretly. How nice. So I'm kidding. He's a child. If he wants to do it, he'll do it. But he gets to explore the chocolate factory. Lots of stuff goes on. Lots of funny shenanigans with these brats, these bratty kids. And Charlie, is a good kid. He's the best kid. He doesn't know it yet. He thinks all kids are like him. In reality, no, they're a bunch of badoinkas. So they all get skaboppled off the course. They're off. They're gone. So Charlie is the last one left. So he wins. Despite, even though it doesn't actually happen in this book. I got well confused with this book. Because with this book, he didn't say the you lose or any of that. That wasn't in the book. That never happened. Like, he never said the good day, sir. I've just found it. He says, Mr. Wonka suddenly exploded with excitement. But my dear boy, he cried out, that means you've won. So he's happy. He's well chuffed. Well, in the film, he sits in a chair and he's like, good day, sir. Not book accurate. That explains why Roald Dahl didn't like it. I was confused of why he doesn't like the original film. Roald Dahl, because Wonka's a dick in the film. He's nice in the book. Mostly. He's a bit of a psycho in the boat bit. He sings the exact same song as he does in the film. But surprisingly less creepy. And also the Oompa Loompas are terrifying looking and drawn in this. But I think it was really good, and obviously I can't compare it to the original film, but even though I know obviously, I know you can, but I will obviously always prefer the film to the book, but that's because I'm more of a film watcher. Well, Kit is not, so she might end up preferring the book. And also, I love Johnny Depp. If your film has Johnny Depp in it, even if I prefer the book, the film gets points for having Johnny Depp in it. Just saying. Anyway, book's going away. Bye, Charlie. Actually, no, not bye, Charlie, because Charlie starts in the next book. Shockingly, the only sequel he ever did. I think. I'm 99% sure, because I own, pretty sure, all of his stories. Apart from the short story ones. I don't own any of them. I only own 2 of those. I don't want to buy any more. Can't be bothered to read short stories.
What if I wrote one?
If you want one, I'll sneakily read it off you. But that doesn't count, because that wouldn't be mine. Oh, but also, I'm going to skedaddle for like 2... Huh? Oh, if you wrote a short story, yeah, I'd read it. We're going to skedaddle. I'll be back after the break, also known as when I reset this recording. And we're back. So, sorry, my recording thing has a limit of 30 minutes, so I have to turn it off. I had to turn it off. But, yeah, the next one we're doing is Charlie and the Great... I don't know what that just said. Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator. I keep saying grass whenever I describe this book, but I didn't do it.
Sounds like you're a great mouse detective, I might be honest.
No, I'm not going to talk about the Great Map. Whatever. So this is actually one of my favorites. It was the first book I read. It was actually last year. What am I on about? It was last year. But no, wait, was it? No, it was this year. Yeah, it was this year. I read this. I really liked it. I did think it was a bit weird at first. I was like, they went to space? But then I read it and I was like, they went to space. It was funny. And I actually do really like this one, even though there's a psycho old Oompa Loompa. And I am slightly upset that they've never made it into a film, even though I understand why, because they're in space and they have to de-age and re-age an old woman and kill her. Not kill her. But yeah, basically, yeah, they killed one of them. One of them got de-aged out of existence.
Who?
One of the old women, the old grandparents.
What?
She had more of the pill than the other women did. So she got so old. She got de-aged.
Oh, yeah.
She got de-aged like 100 years back. So to go underneath the universe to grab her, pull her up, and then get her de-aged self to get age up pills. And then the other one was like, I don't like that. That was terrifying. I don't want to go back there.
Nice.
And Wonka was like, fair enough. But yeah, so it ends with Charlie being in the factory, being a happy lad. Yes. I'm pretty sure it's his only one to get a sequel. And I'm not complaining because I liked it. There's not a lot to say. Just, obviously, I'm not doing very good at telling you to read the books because one, I can't because I don't remember many of them, and also because it's Roald Dahl. If the name doesn't convince you to read them, or the many stories he wrote that are now world classics, I don't know what would convince you to read them. Next up is a book. Speaking of being world classics, a book that nobody remembers at all. Do you know it's Crocodile? Do you know why no one remembers it? You did read that. Do you know why no one remembers it?
Why?
Because it's It's like 62 pages. It is his shortest story if you don't count the short stories, because they're at least 10. They're normally like 10 to 12 pages. This is an actual book on its own. It's his shortest. That I'm aware. Should be. Although if it says I'm not sure. No, it's not, because I'm not sure. Technically, but it's bigger. This is about a big ass crocodile. That's what he probably would have called it if he wasn't in the kids' book. It would have. I'm gonna change the title from the enormous crocodile to the goddamn look at that big ass crocodile. But basically, the enormous crocodile is a big crocodile. He's a dickhead. He has all these people in the woods he talks to, but not nicely. I opened the book and the first picture I saw was him gnawing at an elephant's feet. He went but it is very short and it's very clearly meant for small children. But like, it's just the crocodile spends the half the book talking to animals being a dick. Then he goes to eat kids a few times. And the other animals are like, "Go away, crocodile!" And he's like, "You dickheads!" He runs off. But yeah, he does that, and eventually he goes to eat kids one last time, and the elephant's like, "Right, that's it." Grabs him by the tail, spins him at like Mach 12, and throws him into the sky. He zooms, and then the sun, and he looks at the sun. He's like, "Oh god!" Explosion. He dead. That's the last page of the book. He dies. We love death. There's literally nothing to say. I don't know why I just told you the ending. Spoiler warning, by the way. Even though you'll probably never read this one unless you have a lot of time on your hands. By a lot of time, I mean 5 minutes. It literally took me like 10 minutes to read it, and I suck at reading. I cannot read fast. And the time it takes me to read 50 pages, Kitty's read about 150. But again, it's so short. A lot of people might not even bother, which I wouldn't blame you. It cost me a fiver. Not that expensive, but James and Giant Beach was like six. No, not James. Yeah, James and Giant Peach. No, Charge Factor was $6.99. It's like almost 3 times the size. Just saying. But don't mind it. If you ever wanted to read it, obviously read it. That's all there really is to say there. With that one, it'll be a good one for your kids, or if you are a kid who's like just reading, it's a good one for you then. But otherwise, yeah. Next is Billy and the Minpins, which, according to a part of this book, Quentin Blake, apparently, the guy who illustrates them, apparently this was Roald Dahl's last story. For a last story, it's not that bad. It's about this lad who likes the woods. His mum's like, "Don't you enter the woods. You'll die." And he's like, "But I want to enter the woods." So he goes in the woods anyway. He goes in the woods. He walks around the woods. And there's this big baddie, big pig bad guy thing, chases him. And he runs away. And then he climbs up a tree to escape the smoky beast. It's a beast that vapes. You can tell if you read it, you'll know what I mean. But he's in the tree. He's sitting there, probably expecting he's gonna die and get ripped to a billion pieces, and his mum's gonna be like, "Oh no, my child, where has he gone?" And never know that he's died. But instead, he meets the little Minpin people, and they're like, "Oi, what you did? Shouldn't have angered it. Why are you here?" And they have a nice chat. They sort him out of getting away from the pig. And then he goes home on a bird. And then he visits the Minpins. I really should have just given a spoiler warning. But I don't have a lot to say with this one either. You just meet. That's literally the whole book. His Roald Dahl's books are all based on very, very small ideas. He gets a lot out of them. A lot for the idea, anyway. Then a lot of them are just talking. But yeah, that's all my book really is. It's just blah blahs all day. But yeah, I like this one too. I think that this one is also very good. I obviously just recommend all of these, but I'm not exactly giving you the best reasons to want to read them. Box it into the box they go. Get in the box. Get in the box. Get in the box. Box. Next up is a book I really liked. I will admit, this one I really liked it. The Witches. I'm waiting for that to fall. The Witches.
I like that book.
He likes this book. I really like this book. It is when they started to get really on the bigger side. But this is one of the first books that actually made me feel like I was going to cry. Because obviously he meets these witches, him and his granny. For the first quarter of the book, I thought that a granny was a witch. And I was waiting for her to attempt to kill him. Didn't happen. They're actually besties. But a bunch of stuff goes down. He gets caught in a witch gathering. They turn him into a mouse. Sounds cute, right? He's a mouse now. Lad's a mouse now. Cute. But stuff happens. They kill all the witches, at least all the witches in that area. Then you get to the end of the book, and you might be thinking, maybe he's going to turn back into a mouse now. No, he's stuck as a mouse, and at the end of the book, him and his mum have him and his gran have a discussion, and he's like, since I'm a mouse, am I going to die really soon? And she was like, oh yeah, you'll be dead before me. Pretty much. Which was nice that was nice to know. But yeah. And then the book ends with them going off to hunt the witches, and it's bad. But annoyingly enough, I now want more. I wanted more. I was sat there like, bruh, you ended it at the perfect place, either for another chapter or another book. You didn't even make another book. I'm hurt. Even if it's like a short one. I want to know what they did. At least a montage, not a montage. You know what I mean? It's like a little chapter of just like, oh, and then they did stuff. Here's some examples. I understand the point of leaving it up to ambiguity. Ambiguity. That's the word. But would have been nice. But again, this one I definitely recommend, and this one I remember. Really good book. Made me laugh, and again with that thing with the mouse thing, made me almost want to cry. Wow. The next one is one of my favorites. You wouldn't think it'd be a favorite, considering the kind of books I would tell you I like. But I really liked it. And it was Boy, Tales of Childhood. Roald Dahl's childhood biography. Which I think that it is really interesting because, like, according to how it's described at the start, it said that he didn't actually write it himself, but it's written so it sounds just like him. Because it said like he had notes and stuff, but it says that he actually didn't write it somewhere. I think it's near the start. It says that he didn't actually write it. Yeah, he says that he'd never written a book about himself. But yeah. So basically, with this book, it's him talking about his childhood, going through school, all the stuff that happened there, his parents, how they mostly just died. And about the many beatings he got at school. That's one of the main things I remember with this book. The amount of times he talks about getting beat, whether it's by teachers or by other students, like old, like my age students. And just like with the witches, it made me want to cry. Because I'm like, oh no, he's getting beat for something that wasn't his fault. Oh yeah, it's just how school was at the time. But it's still kind of stupid, but the fact that it happened, but it happened. Like he describes how intently they went with each strike and how much they thought about it. But in fairness, with the amount they did, they probably didn't even have to think about it by the end. They would just be there planning out the seconds and just without even have to plan it. They just know. Which is a little screwed, but it's just how things were. Talks about his dad, talks about his mother, who he got along with a lot and stuff. I'm really bad when it comes to describing things. I don't even know why I do this sometimes. I can't describe things. But I think it's really good. If there's any book I recommend as like a biography to read, even if you don't like Roald Dahl, I think this is a good one. It's just a good book in general. And I don't know really anything about Roald Dahl. In fact, he's been dead for 30 years. That's what I've got. And he wrote books. You want to know Roald Dahl? That's all I've got. Other than he got beat in school and parents go, eh. Yeah. But yeah, next book, which is also... Huh? What? Next book is another biography, Going Solo. This one I also liked. Like, I really like this one because he talks about World War II, which I'm sure for him was terrifying. I love learning about World War II stuff, so this really intrigued me reading it. There's one thing though, it took me a really long time to read because unlike the rest of the books, which had decently big writing and pictures everywhere, this book, sure, I've opened a page where there's pictures, but the words are tiny, and there was loads of times it would be just 2 pages of this, and the fact that Roald Dahl doesn't have has very long chapters, it made it my not used to reading a lot brain struggled. Now, if I was trying to read this again, I'd probably do a bit better, but I'd probably still struggle. But we're gonna ignore that fact. But yeah, I really liked the book. I thought it was really interesting, and to learn about all the different things with Roald Dahl, to learn about all the different things in World War II, and things he did just for World War II started, and you think like, oh, if World War II hadn't have happened, one, he might not have even been a writer. He's got a big knock on the head, but also, he would have probably been just some random guy at Shell, working at Shell, which is funny to think about, but I'm kind of glad what happened because it means we got him. And he describes this girl he meets, and he falls in love with her just from his voice. Then he meets her, and because he's seen her face, the intrigue goes down. He stops liking her, which I think is funny but sad. Feel bad for that girl because she could have dated Roald Dahl if he kept interest and if she liked him. Next book, I'm waiting for this to fall. It's gonna fall. I think the only thing holding it up is the 3 Roald Dahl books and Mockingjay. Those are the 2 things holding it up right now. It didn't fall. Oh my god. Next up is a book I'm sure Kitty's very familiar with. One, because I read it with her. And second, because someone in her family is a very big fan of it. So it brings it up a lot. Well, not technically in her family, but I'll say in her family for simplicity. Danny, the Champion of the World.
Oh, my mum's boyfriend. He's not my family.
I know. I just said in your family for simplicity.
He's not in my family.
But
just say he's his boyfriend. Duh.
A boyfriend of a family member. There you go. But basically, Danny, the Champion of the World, is about a lad called Danny and his dad. And basically, his dad has a big secret. His dad goes to shoot birds in a rich man's field, but it's illegal, and he gets shot a lot in the bum when he does it. And he doesn't. When he starts to do it, his son wakes up at 3 a.m. and is like, "Where's my dad gone? Where's he gone?" His dad comes back, and he kind of explains this big secret that he's kept from his son, that him and his dad used to shoot the birds. Now he's doing it again. And basically, him and his dad then decide we're going to get all of the birds from this rich man, because this rich man's a piece of poo. Don't like him. He's a fat piece of poo. Best way I could describe him: looks like Matilda's dad. Bit worse than Matilda's dad, though, I think. The one thing that makes him worse than Matilda's dad, though, is the fact that he's not Danny DeVito. So, even though it's funny, Danny DeVito in the films, no offense to the guy, is more on the chubby side. In the book, he's a skinny man. I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, they go in the forest, they do a bunch of stuff, and then they get all the birds. But then the birds escape. They escape. And the man's lost them. The rich man's lost him, and they broke the car. And they're trying. It's because the reason he has them is because he likes to get all these rich people who don't even like him to just come over and do stuff. Use the money to shoot the birds. But now we don't have no more. So the rich people are gonna go there and hate him more than they already do because he wasted their time. Screw you, rich people.
So this will be
So
Okay.
that's basically all of this book. I don't really know what else to say. If you want to know more about it, you can obviously either get the book or there's a film. It's not on anything. Might have to just get it on DVD or something. But it exists somewhere. Next up, second to last. No, third to last. How are you still standing? What the hell? Look at that! Look at how that's standing, bruv. The fact that hasn't fell. I understand this is here, but it's barely even on this. Amazement. I'm gonna go back there. Ah! Okay, let's go there. Why not? So, even though you're very obviously lower, third to last, Matilda. And I read this, obviously with the expectation that it would be good, because I love the film with a passion. And I'll admit, again, it's a good book. Obviously, I've rated all of these 5 stars, but this one I really liked, which makes me understand why it's a famous film and stuff. But, so... And there's lots of famous lines, obviously, from the film in the book, because it was obviously in the book first. Like, Daddy, you're a crook, and things like that. And, but it's funny. There's so many... One thing I said to Kitty when I was reading this book, there's so many more pranks at the start that she does to punish her parents. There's way more of them. But yeah, there's a few more pranks at the start and stuff like that. She doesn't actually get to go to school to till how many is that in? About 60 pages in is when she gets to school, which is longer than I thought it would have been. But so gets to school, and when it comes to for an example, I'll give is a scene with Miss Trunchbull where she spins the girl. They actually don't have the no, they do have the your mom is a twit, but there's so much more dialogue in the book than the film, despite the fact that films are built more on dialogue. There's more of it in that scene in the book than in the actual film, and I think it's pretty funny. Back again, sorry about that. So I was talking about the quotes. Basically, an example of a quote is Miss D, Miss I, Miss FFI, Miss U, Miss D, Miss T, whatever it was. Something like that. I was close.
Yeah.
Yes, Kitty, please say it.
Mrs. D, Mrs. I, Mrs. FFI, Mrs. C, Mrs. U, Mrs. LTY.
There you go. And then Miss Trunchbull's amazing response to that is, why are all these women married? Mrs. D, Mrs. I is supposed to be teaching spelling, not poetry. But with a lot of the quotes, as I was saying, he adds a lot to them. Like, for example, if I can find one, that's one I can find. An example being, or some things that is different in the film. An example I'll give is, for example, Matilda, when she does her magic for the first time. Obviously, in the book, it's almost the same. But he describes it as like lasers coming out of his eyes almost. It's like, what? Obviously not lasers actually coming out, because then everyone would see it. But then the second time, when she's showing it to Miss Honey at the table. As a lot of you know, if you've watched the film, in the film she's there like, move bottle, move bottle, move bottle, move. The bottle doesn't move. In the book, it moves. Like, she doesn't actually have to do the thing with the teapot. The glass just moves. So that happens, and then also the thing where they go to Miss Trunchable's house doesn't happen. That's just not in the book. Just isn't. It's not there. Doesn't happen. She trains with her magic, but not with like music. There's nothing about the police find. There's like also those two policemen who come up, and are like, "Oh, we're at the house, sir, for this time period." They aren't in it. The police just find out, and Matilda comes home to them packing after hanging out with Miss Honey. And I still find it funny that the name of Miss Trunchbull is decently similar to a book/film Kitty loves. She likes the film, not the book. Angus.
Angus Young's Perfect Nugget.
That's the one. I've got the book for that, and I'm going to read it at some point. But yeah, I found that a funny little thing. There's not really much else to say here. It's pretty similar to the book. There's certain things in it that are different, but I think they're like some of them aren't great changes. Well, some of them, all the changes were good and beneficial for the film, but I'm not saying they're bad things in the book. I would have found it funny to see the bit with the parrot in the film. That would have been funny. I would have loved it. At least I think I would. I'm gonna turn so you can actually see that I'm doing that with the thingies. So next, you're gonna end up seeing that falling because it's being held on by one book. You're gonna see it fall. Ow!
What was that?
I was hoping that a loud noise would happen. It did not. So. Yeah?
I think Kitty's talking to herself.
I thought I said Bubs. So the last actual paperback book before we get to the final book that was being held up is Someone Like You by Roald Dahl, which is my one and only, as of this year. Forget it. One and only short story book of his own, which has 15 short stories in it, and I think they're all alright. I mean, they all end pretty negatively. Like, there's this one that ends with this guy drowning. But it's never explained. That was me trying to clap. It doesn't actually never actually said. He jumps off the boat to get money. Hoping this old woman will tell him, like, "Oh no!" and shout for the alarm. She doesn't. And just before that, I mentioned his wife or girlfriend. So she'll be a bit sad. But like, there's not really a lot to say. The main story it does is Cloud's dog at the end, which I think that one is quite funny and enjoyable because it's the longest as well. It was the one I enjoyed the most. It was the section I enjoyed reading the most. But I didn't. I loved it, but I didn't. I really enjoyed it enough to give it 5 stars, but it still wasn't. It wasn't as much as all that lot. But it was. I still enjoyed it, obviously, because I gave it 5 stars. I've never not given a book 5 stars, but that's because I've never not enjoyed a book. This one I just enjoyed less. But they are more adult stories, and I think there is a lot of humor in adult stories, but they aren't nowhere near as funny as those. But maybe I'm just not the target audience, I don't know. But I didn't love them. I didn't expect this to reach the top. So last, but not least, actually in my eyes, least, not bad though. Actually, no, that Someone Like You's least in my book, but this one is second least. Gremlins by Roald Dahl. This is his first story, written in 1943, if I'm getting that not wrong. I cut 42. I was close. Battlefield, mate. But It's not that I didn't like the book. It's a good and fun little book, but nothing really happens. I feel like if he wanted a lot to I understand, because it was supposed to be a Disney film, so the Disney film probably would have explained it more, but not a lot really gets explained in this. It's too short for anything to really be explained. Like, they go from mean to nice in a really short amount of time, which probably would have been a montage in the film, but in this it was like just like one to 2 pages. And they're big pages as well, so they do have lots of drawings on them. And the drawings are very pretty and clearly, some of them are clearly from the Disney movie, the cancelled Disney film. That I now really wish happened because I would want to watch it. But I just wish it was longer. To be honest, I feel like it was too short. Like I always say, I like reading shorter books, but this is the case where it is flat out too short. Because I love the Gremlins films, but even though these are obviously different Gremlins than the ones in the Gremlins films, you can tell that some of the comedy horror, I think. I don't know what I'd call it, but I'm not saying I didn't hate it. I just wish it was longer, because if it was longer, I probably would have preferred it. It'll stay. It will stay like that for now, anyway. So there you go. This is all the books I've read so far. Well, not fully, but I want to do videos of their own for the next 2. Which, if you want a hint of what they are, Born to Run by Michael Morpurgo, which might be the first book to actually make the first book to actually make me cry, legitimate tears, but I'll explain that in the video. And The Boy with the Tiger's Heart, which is a book I again really enjoyed, but again I'll explain that when it's in its own video. And I'll let Kitty if she wants one. I'll let Kitty have her own segment about it if she wants one.
I love that book.
She does love that book. But so yeah, this is my box half full, and that is the end of this first video talking about all of the Roald Dahl books I read, which is almost all of them, and I just cut short stories. So if you guys have enjoyed this hang on, Kitty. If you guys have enjoyed this video, feel free to like it. If not, obviously don't. It's up to you. If you have disliked this video, dislike it. If you'd like, I don't mind. If you have any suggestions for any future videos or want to say something in general, just comment it down below. And if you enjoyed what I did today and maybe want to see more of it, hit the little red button down there. If not, again, obviously don't. It's up to you. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you another time, hopefully. Toodaloo.